Let's have some fun and do a throwback segment. This is a portion of the famous Greed is Good speech by Gordon Gekko in the movie Wall Street. Let's listen.
The new law of evolution in corporate America seems to be survival of the unfittest. Well, in my book, you either do it right or you get eliminated. In the last 7 deals that I've been involved with, there were 2.5 million stockholders who have made a pre-tax profit of $12 billion. Thank you. I am not a destroyer of companies. I am a liberator of them. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar Paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA. Thank you very much.
Tom Hartman did a segment on this recently, and he basically said that this ideology was most pervasive in the 1980s. It trickled over into the 90s as well. I think, in all seriousness, it's carried over even till today, because along with Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan came this idea and this revolution, which is kind of in line with what you hear Gordon Gekko saying there. It's the idea that you really should only care about yourself, and private vices lead to public benefit. And selfishness and narcissism leads to a thriving society because of the idea of the invisible hand of the market. If everybody's going around caring only about themselves, then there's some sort of spontaneous order that happens, and the market takes care of its own business, and everybody's productive, and the country moves in the right direction. It's a very libertarian-like belief, economically speaking. And here's the thing. Are there aspects of that are undeniably part of human nature? I say yes, which is why I don't describe myself as a revolutionary. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not a communist. I'm not a total collectivist. I think that there's a certain position where you go too far left and you become naive and idealistic in the sense that you think human beings can override what's in our animalistic nature. So there's a sense in there. He's speaking to a point in there that's absolutely true and I think undeniable, that human beings are, to a certain extent, greedy. But what he misses is human beings are more nuanced than that. They're more complex than that. We clearly there's overwhelming evidence to support the reality that human beings have both things in them. So we're, at the same time that we're very selfish and narcissistic and greedy, and we want to get ahead, and we want to do survival of the fittest, and we want to capture the evolutionary spirit of what we are, at the same time that goes on and we're insanely competitive, at the same time we also have very things that happen in society that are very collectivist in nature and communal in nature. Think about how you act with your closest friends. Think about how you act with your family. Think about how you act when you want to get involved in a project with a bunch of people and you try to make it successful, whatever it may be. If you do a weekly bowling league, or if do you go to your church and donate a certain amount of money to charity every week? Human beings are both very kind, very loving, very charitable, very willing to compromise, and at the same time, we're also the opposite. We're also very narcissistic, greedy, selfish, and competitive. So what you should have is a society that reflects both of those things, or not just reflects, harnesses both of those things. You want a society that says, okay, we're not going to try to pretend like you're not greedy at all, because that's not true. You are greedy. So we need to set up a system that harnesses that greed. That's the aspect of life that should be, or the economy that should be capitalist. That's the aspect of life that is competitive, where you try to make the best product at the lowest price, and you get the most business, and you make the most money, which is why a lot of industries should be capitalist, whether it's making video games, doing entertainment, making couches and beds, whatever it is. Those are areas where the government has shown itself to do a shitty fucking job. Shitty job. So stuff like that, sure, capitalism all day long. But then there's other things where that greedy nature needs to be overcome by our more communal beliefs and our side that's more willing to compromise and look out for other people. So, for example, education, infrastructure, healthcare. These are things where capitalism doesn't work, greed doesn't work, and we need that aspect to kick in where we all work together and figure something out. So, the problem with the Gordon Gekko greed is good speech and the Reagan Revolution and the Thatcher Revolution of this wild right-wing ideology, the problem with it is that it's incomplete. In the same way that when you listen to somebody who's a true collectivist talk and they act like, well, we're not greedy at all, that's also an incomplete picture. You're both right and you're both wrong, because it's a 50-50 proposition. We have both of those urges, both of those desires, and a system that works should harness both of those things, which is why I've said from the beginning I believe in a hybrid system. I believe in a Scandinavian-like system, a social democracy, if you will, where you have aspects of government and socialism where it's necessary, and also aspects of regulated capitalism where it's necessary.